I'll go ahead and get going. And hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's having a good week. Uh, this is we're going to take 2 weeks off. So we're going on vacation. We leave next week. I don't remember if we're leaving Tuesday afternoon or Wednesday morning, but we're leaving, and we're going to be gone for about 10 days. Our annual beach trip and stuff. So I won't be logging in um, to do this, but we'll catch up in a couple weeks, and we'll be able to connect with folks if you need something. But anyway, just wanted to remind you that before I forgot. I'm sure I'm supposed to probably do that at the end, but I forgot. So anyway, all right, so let's get going. Like I said, hope everybody's doing well, and if you need anything, make sure you put it in the comments, and we will pray for you. I see Frank's got something in there. Well, I'll touch on that. We'll pray for you here in a little bit, Frank. But I wanted to talk about I was reminded of something doing some research. I'm part of a small group that we do something on Sunday mornings, and we've been doing a series. We went through the book, and Don, you'll appreciate this because I remember we did this way back in the day together. But we did a study on Seeking Allah, Finding Jesus. Great book, challenges you on so many levels, and it's so thought-provoking, and I would encourage anybody, if you're curious, read that, and I'd be happy to go through it with you if you needed somebody to bounce things off of. But in the conversation that whole book stirred was we discussed some things that had happened in church history, like since Jesus left and after Acts and the Bible stuff, some things that happened. So we were discussing some of that, and then that kind of got me digging into church history and digging into different things and things that had to do with defending Scripture and defending the Christian faith, and all that sort of stuff, because it goes hand in hand with that book. But what I came across that has absolutely nothing to do with that book, but as soon as I read it, it made me think so much of the work of recovery and the process of spiritual growth. And it's something that we've talked about on here a bunch, and small groups on Thursday night, we talk about it, but the steps, right? And so we talk about that process, and when you get through the core there, which that kind of the hard stuff, which is like 4, 5, 6, 7, right in there. That's where it really gets deep, and you sort of separate the men from the boys there. And in that, we talk an awful lot about this personal inventory, this ongoing self-evaluation that we should be doing. And we should be doing this if we're at our 6-month point, or if we're at our 60-year point. These are things that should be ongoing and recurring. And so as I'm digging around, I found something that St. Ignatius wrote, and he wrote in between, let's just say for easy, 1500, right in there somewhere. A little bit before and after, and I don't know exactly when he wrote this, but he started what we in America would know of as the Jesuits. You might have heard that. It was sort of a counter-Reformation group way back then, but it's sort of an offshoot of Catholicism. But anyway, not to get chasing rabbit holes there on what all they mean, but he wrote about a framework of what he called 5 important spiritual principles or steps in that we should do, a follower of Jesus should do every day. And it was crazy because, this is, thousands of, hundreds of years ago, that this guy wrote this stuff, and it's relevant today, and it's actually something that we talk about without even realizing it when we talk about spiritual growth, discipleship, and the steps in recovery. So, all right, so I'll just kind of go through them. He says the first thing he says is you start by asking God for help. And what's the first thing that we do in this whole process is basically say, I can't, but God can. And I'm going to let him now. I mean, that's the deal. I mean, that's where it all begins. And so here he is talking about it. Then he goes on to say, take an inventory of your blessings. Remember he says, remember to kind of check on the things that are good and the things that are bad. Your assets, your liabilities, is maybe how we might think about that. The good stuff and the bad stuff. Think about those and just constantly be reminded of where your help comes from. And that's from God. Then he goes on to talk about, pray about significant feelings that emerge as you review your day. Now, this is a key right here. This is probably one of the most difficult parts of this is to acknowledge the feelings and the emotions that you're going through during the day. And he goes on to say, did this feeling or this emotion, did it lead me closer to God? Or did it help me grow in my faith? And maybe the question is, better said, do we allow it to draw us closer to God? Because if I'm thinking about anger, fear, just resentment, all of those feelings, I don't know if I'm allowing that to draw me closer to God, but we should. And that's kind of, I think, his point there. And then he goes on to say that we should rejoice and then seek forgiveness. So after we've kind of evaluated everything, we need to rejoice in the good stuff, rejoice in the process, rejoice in what God is revealing to us, and then seek forgiveness where we need that. So if that emotion and that feeling that stirred anger, I sinned, I acted out, I lashed out, I said something I shouldn't, that's where I need to ask for forgiveness. First and foremost, ask God to forgive. And then the person that I lashed out at, I need to circle back to them and ask for forgiveness. And see, and then he's talking about the idea that we're not seeking perfection, we're just engaging in the process. And the process is where it's at. We oftentimes look down the road and seek and just long for this perfection that we will never obtain. And so we miss out on the process. And that's where it's at. That's where spiritual growth happens. That's where we become better men and women. That's where we're laying foundations for a life of sobriety and recovery. That's where we are putting pieces together that will make us whole and continue to heal us. We are basically feeding our souls at this point. And that's a big difference than just writing up a checklist and scratching stuff off and adding a few things. We're digging in. We're getting deeper. And then his last thing, because he said there's 5 things, he says that then now we're at the point where we can look towards tomorrow. And what he's getting at is not sort of daydreaming, but he's getting at this idea of how can I be useful tomorrow based off of what I'm learning today. And that's huge, man. That's big stuff right there, because that's allowing us to get better. That's allowing us to learn from our mistakes, learn from our wounds and our healings, and then share those with others. And then that's where we're stepping in and we're in a relationship with other folks, and we're doing God's working in us, and we are then doing the work for him. Because spiritual growth and sobriety, it's a process. It's It's work. It's doing the things that we have to do to get better right now and in the future. And I love how he goes on to talk about when we do these things, we can really see and ask, where's God calling me? What is God calling me to do? Where is he calling me to go? And how's he calling me to help? And that's powerful stuff. And it's pretty cool that some dude in Spain talked about that hundreds of years ago. And here we are today talking about it and applying it and encouraging each other. Because I think when we go through this process, it's sort of a prayerful thing. It's something that maybe we do at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day. And I would encourage maybe throughout the day that we're sort of in this process. We're in this motion. We're in this, identifying, rejoicing, asking for forgiveness, repenting, growing, looking for opportunity, seeing where God can use me, looking back at like things that I've struggled with and allowing God to heal, grow, set free. So maybe take those words from a guy from the 1500s and think about them and just think about how you can apply them. I mean, I'll go back over them real quick. It's, of course, I lost my page where I had it. And I'll never be able to find it again now that I need it. This is the fun of live TV, I guess. Here we go. All right, so we're going to ask for God's help. We're going to take an inventory. We're going to check our blessings. We're going to pray about significant feelings that emerge as we kind of go through this process. How does it make us feel when we think about our day, when we think about the good, the bad? Where's it taking us? How are our emotions and our feelings drawing us closer to God? And if they're not, why? What's keeping that from happening? And then we're rejoicing and we're asking for forgiveness. And we're looking forward to tomorrow. We're after the process and the progress, the progression. It's not about perfection. Progression, not perfection. So anyway, I hope that helps you guys. I hope it encourages you. I'll write some of this down in the little, not the comments, but the little post thing that comes up here in a little bit. And if you need something, reach out, stay connected. I won't see you for a couple weeks, but I'll be thinking about you. Connect if you need us. Text us, message us, whatever you need. Have a great week. Love you, folks. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one. Bye, guys. Out.